Good morning and happy Sunday. I have tried to do this sermon about 20 times, so bear with me because this is going to be the final one. I hope it works because I wanted to get a little bit of message out there today. I worked all day long on trying to compile a bunch of different really beautiful images and text, and, and then I couldn't make it work. But anyways, I'm trying and I know that you are too. And so I'd like to just talk to you briefly today. Won't take much of your time, but I do miss you all. Well, good morning on this gray and cold, actually October Sunday. I can't believe that it is already almost the end of October. Kind of weird how fast time is going by these days, isn't it? It's a bit disconcerting, these times that we are living in, and I find myself continuing to be drawn back to the words of the psalmist who wrote during times of disorientation and reorientation, and I can't help but think how appropriate that is for us today. The book of Psalms is full of real live people crying out to God, beseeching God to be present with them, to provide, to protect, to sustain, to explain, which God doesn't do that. But so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that today. And we're going to be talking from the text of Psalm 46. But I wanted to ask you if you remember being little, or if you ever did this. We did it in a crazy family of 6 siblings. We made up all kinds of games. So one person would stand in front and one would be in the back, and they'd say, well, I've got you, here are my arms, so lean back and fall and I'll catch you. And it was a game of trust. And I had such a hard time with letting go and knowing and believing that someone was going to trust me. It's interesting, isn't it? I wonder if we could do that today. No, not just with me standing behind you, catching you, but we should try that when we gather back again. And I hope that that will be soon. The point is, a lot of things in our life are easy to trust, aren't they? We get up, we flip the switch on, electricity turns on. We expect it to, we trust that it will. The stove, the refrigerator, the water, the basics of our life that we take so many things for granted. Go out to our car, go to work, trust that it will start. Sometimes it doesn't. We trust that the world will work in an even way, and all of a sudden, boom, something happens like it happened to our world in the last several months, and no one really knows what to do. Once again, the Psalms speak to a time of people globally, cosmically, and collectively, and communally, and micro level too, feeling so disoriented. So I want to talk to you about that today and about Psalm 46. And it's so interesting. I always learn so much when I'm studying for a sermon. And I spent about 6 hours yesterday. I had this beautiful compilations of photos that y'all would have loved and text. And I thought, oh, I'm learning this iMovie. I'm going to get this. And I couldn't make it work. It was talking over itself. So here I am. Y'all get the last edition today, and I hope that it works. I miss you very much. I miss being together. I asked John and Belinda to send you a hymn because we would have sung that hymn together today in church. But we are not together, and we are making the best of it. And we will continue to make the best of it because God indeed is present with us. So Psalm 46 is, first of all, something you need to understand. It's called a psalm of trust, and it talks about a mighty fortress is our God, and God is a refuge, a safe place for us. So let's talk about that. God being a safe place for us. Jerusalem was in the middle of all kinds of upheaval, political upheaval. Hello, like us. Environmental upheaval. Hello, like us. Economic upheaval with oppression and nations conquering it. And Jerusalem indeed had toppled, had fallen. So it wasn't an easy time for them to trust that everything was going to be okay. It isn't an easy time for us to trust that everything is going to be okay either. One of the most important things that I heard about in this psalm, though, that when you read this psalm, you hear the nations may roar, the mountains and kingdoms may totter, but the city of God is not made to totter. And it talks about God being present in a refuge, a place for hiding, protection, for sanctuary. and for us to not allow our trust to be turned in to fear. Well, let's really think about that. We cannot allow our trust to be transformed into fear. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm almost to the point of not watching any more news again for a while, because that's what's going on everywhere. Trying to turn our trust that we have in the goodness of the world, the goodness of our country, the goodness of our nation, into fear. And what does fear really do? It doesn't do anything but divide us. It divides us from each other. It divides us from dialogue and reconciliation and restoration. It keeps everything stirred up and turned up, a volume turned up so loudly that you don't even know what's going on anymore. I don't know if you can even hear your own self think, much less try to find solutions. God is a God about transformation. Let's remember that. Our relationship with God and our transformation through Christ is about that transformation, not being taken back to a place where we were, but being transformed into more complete human beings with more goodness and kindness and light and love and gentleness, and the ability to listen and persevere and be faithful and continue to show that faith and live that faith out in healthy ways. The Israelites did not always do that in a perfect way, nor do we. We are very human. But there's one thing I want to point out to you. One of my very favorite things to say to you all and to myself, one of the things that has really kind of changed my life, is actually at the end of this psalm. And it says, "Be still and know that I'm God." So we've talked about God being the refuge and a sanctuary. But when you research this, you start to learn that the original words when this was written, they weren't some gentle, placating invitation to stillness, which I usually invite you to at church. Instead, it was like when you have children that have been fighting, and you finally say, enough, stop, sit down, go to your separate places, and be still. That is what God was saying. Enough of the fighting, enough of the wars, enough of the division, enough. Be still, stop, be still, and let God be God, and let the divine in us come to the surface. Because people talk about church all the time, but what good is a relationship that has transformed you into a new creation in Christ if we aren't making the world a better place? So I hope that this edition reaches you on this cold Sunday morning, or whenever you watch it, and you remember these words, that God is our hiding place, our refuge, but you also remember this other bookend of it, that the presence of God is indeed with us all the time, even when we don't sense it. But it is a viable, hefty presence that we can indeed trust and lean into. And we can be filled up by that presence, because we can't fill ourselves up with the right stuff. That's God's job. So let's turn and lean into the divine creator who is the ultimate source of love and peace on this day and every day. May God bless you and keep you.